to be on this episode. I'm the star of this. King Kong ain't got itch on me. I have you in lockdown, 24 hours, Corona time. Shoe program, ninja.
All right, here we go.
NERDSoul.
Woo! Ha ha! Lay ill kid at OneYoungsta holding it down, bringing that StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, all year, coming with another wonderful episode of That Is Right. You best believe it. Thumbnails and talk shop and specials all wrapped into one, because we're going to be getting into an awesome animated series known as Justice League and also Justice League Unlimited. But I'm not by myself. I'm joined by the incomparable, someone who I believe is on my very first podcast ever, Avery Evans from Choppin It Up Geek. What's up?
What's up, everybody? This is the Culture Chameleon coming at you.
Yo, man, it's really good to have you here, because I know you love the series. I love the series, and you shared the article from, I believe, CBR. And I would like, once I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, we need to talk about this. This would be fun, something just to lay back and kick it over." But let people know where they can hear you on the radio over them airwaves.
Yeah, this is the Choppin It Up Geek. This is Choppin. This is the Culture Chameleon, and my radio show is Choppin It Up Geek, which airs on WRIR 97.3 FM Richmond Independent Radio every second, fourth, and fifth Tuesday of the month. There's a fifth Tuesday, and you can go to www.wrir.org and press the live stream button in the top left-hand corner, and when it airs, like it aired earlier today, you can listen to it.
Yeah,
and we also have a little bit of an archive player. You can listen to a couple of the old episodes as well. So.
That's what's up. So the article you shared was 5 reasons why we like the original Justice League cartoon the best, and 5 reasons why Unlimited was better. I guess I'll kick this off by asking you, like, did you watch Justice League or Justice League Unlimited when it first ran or after it ran?
That is a mute question, my friend, LL Kid. I was in college at the time, and fortunately for me, when Justice League came out, I think it premiered the fall of my sophomore year at Hampton University. So I was able to watch it because my sophomore year on, they forced us to have cable. Before that, if both roommates didn't agree to have cable, you couldn't have it because they didn't want one roommate to have it and then had the aux cord sharing it. So just believe I was tuning into it, and that way that added another fee to college, your cable fee. That was automatically thrown in there because a lot of people wouldn't get cable because they didn't want to pay for it. So, but by them doing that, they did me a favor because I had access to Cartoon Network, and I tuned in every week. I think it came on like Saturday evenings at 6 or 7, and right. Justice League would come on, and I would watch it. And I distinctly remember the first episode was like a 3-parter that they showed as one continuous part, I think, or they broke it up. I can't remember if they broke it up into 3s or they showed it all as one. But sometimes they would do that special event like that.
Okay.
That's when they had that alien invasion. So to answer your question, yes, I watched it on its original run.
Interesting. Because see, me, I actually didn't. I didn't even know about it because at that time I was heavy into anime. And I didn't even know about it until it got to Unlimited. And I was like, oh, snap, this is Justice League cartoon on. And somebody was like, yeah, this is kind of like part 2. There's another whole one. But of course, at the time, they weren't doing reruns like that. But thank God, I don't know if they still do, but Netflix had it, Justice League and JLU. So I was able to watch it normally, like, binge it all in a row, like, watching it how it was aired. And
I have a little secret. So when I first when I saw the visuals of it coming on, I thought it was going to be whack because I didn't know it was connected to Bruce Timm and Batman the animated series, and Superman the animated series, and Batman Beyond. So I went into it like, man, this might be whack. But then after that first episode, I was like, I take back all of my preconceptions. And I didn't say it out loud like people do now on the internet. I just said that to myself and amongst my friends circle. But once it came on, they had me hook, line, and sinker. And in fact, I'm looking now. I got all the seasons on DVD, right? I'm looking at them right now on my shelf. So,
yeah, I ain't going front. I saw JLU, and it was I guess the weird thing is that even though I didn't see it when it originally ran, like when the first part ran, it was almost like somebody gave me a gift because they were like, hey, there's more. And I was like, hold on, there's more?
Well,
so I was I was a little happy with it when I found that out.
Yeah, one thing that made me mad later on with JLU was Cartoon Network was kind of by the time JLU came out, sometimes there's a little spotty when they was airing it a couple of times. Like they would air it, and then they'd stop, then they'd air it, and I'm like, come on now, like stop playing with my emotions like that.
And it's weird because Cartoon Network has always been like that with DC stuff. Like it'll be like you'll get 2 months of it being on, say, I don't know, Wednesday at 5, and then disappear. Like you'll be like, what's going on? And then you'll get maybe the next Wednesday it'll come on at 5 like it normally does. Then next week you'll be like, hold on, it's Thursday at 3? What's going on? And they did that type of stuff with Young Justice. They did that type of stuff with JLU. I don't know, it's just weird. They even did that stuff with Teen Titans, where it was like, you'd be like, yo, when does this come on? Like, what's going on with this?
Well, for the most part, for what I remember, because I was watching all that stuff on its original run, like I said, the original Justice League, it came on a consistent basis, the original one. Mm-hmm. Young Justice League, JLU, they kind of had a they were doing well for a while, but then I think they were trying to figure out if they were going to renew it or not. I think there was some stuff going on there. The show that I particularly remember that they kind of bounced around on was Beware the Batman, because that came on at one time, and then they put it on at 3 a.m. for the rest of the second season. But I think that was also because they weren't putting stock into that show due to the Joker shooting at this the screening of The Dark Knight, when that guy went and opened up fire in that theater, because they had to go back and retool that whole show because there were more guns in that show, and after that shooting they had to go back and reanimate all of that, and that was a CGI Batman show, so that delayed the show coming out. So, but yeah, it was good times when that came out.
Just thinking about that, like I didn't even, because see, I never watched Beware the Batman, but I didn't even think about, there was like a huge reaction to like kind of erring on the side of caution around that time, because of course, you don't want you don't want to even indirectly offend someone when you're like, hey, look, this was made like 6 months, a year and a half before this even happened. You know what I'm saying? So, but you still don't want
I got
people
a different
to feel
opinion.
away.
I still would have showed it. I still would have showed it in its original, but that's just me.
Yeah, I would have just slapped a disclaimer on it and ran it. I'd have been like, hey, look, you know what I'm saying? What do they put up, like mature audiences or whatever, and then I'd probably have like a 15-second like, hey guys, look, there's stuff on here. This was produced, 2 years ago or a year ago, because with the animation, it's produced like way before we see it. So it's like, hey, this was way before this. It's not intended to offend, so don't think that we're doing this, essentially to clout chase the event. But yeah, so in the article, they start off, they got 10 reasons, 5 for Justice League Unlimited and 5 for the regular Justice League. The first one says Justice League Unlimited had a stronger season 1. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, maybe, but since I watched it, and see, it's different for me because I binged everything. Like, I watched Justice League Unlimited probably somewhere in the middle of its like second season or whenever I caught on to it. And then when I watched the whole thing, it's kind of like one big long story to me. So to me, it didn't seem like it seemed like the production was always, on par with each other. I don't know if I'd say Unlimited had a stronger season. They do point to like Amazo's arc. They do reference For the Man Who Has Everything, but I don't know if I'd say they had a stronger season 1. But since you watched it from the get, how do you feel?
I think they were equal, but there was a big difference, and I think the difference that I'm about to mention is why they said it was season 1 for Justice League was stronger than Justice League Unlimited season 1. People who don't know, when Justice League season 1, with the way Justice League did their episodes, they would be in 2 episode arcs. So one episode would happen, but then you would need to watch the second episode that followed that to get the whole story. Whereas when Justice League Unlimited came out, unless it was a direct storyline or it said it was going to be a part 2 for that, every episode was separate and episodic. Now, granted, Justice League Unlimited started to have like an overall seasonal arc, but Justice League, the original, each episode would be like 2 episodes per show, was basically 1 episode, so you need to come back and watch next week for that. So that might be why they might have said, hey, that was stronger than that. But Justice League Unlimited had some very good episodes introducing a bunch of different secondary characters that you never seen on screen before.
Yeah, they really shine when they threw the question on there.
Yeah, well, Green Arrow, like, the only time you really saw a bunch of the Justice League characters was on Batman Brave and the Bold, and that was a little more campy style. But Justice League was basically Bruce Timm's and Alan Burnett's ultimate dream come true, because back when they were doing Batman the Animated Series, I had read the Batman the Animated, the making of book. They wanted to have the guest stars come on Batman when they had switched to the WB. But when Batman became the new Batman Adventures, there was a mandate from the studios because they wanted to have a more kid-centric feel and be geared more towards younger children. A lot of their planned guest stars that they wanted, like Green Arrow and different people like that, they wouldn't approve it, and they had to make episodes where Robin and Batgirl were featured instead. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so when they got the opportunity to do Justice League, they finally got their wish that they had been wanting to do all the way back on Batman. And it's funny that they said they wanted to gear it more towards kids, because I clearly remember New Batman Adventures. I didn't see it on this original run, but I first saw some from downloading episodes off of Kazaa in college, and then finally when the seasons came out, that show was way more raw than it was on Fox. They were showing blood. There was a little more adult situations kind of implied there. And but having the big ensemble cast of different people coming on the show, that was Bruce Timm's and Alan Burnett's like big goal that they had traced back to Batman the Animated Series. So, but back to the original question, I thought the whole thing was good. One thing about Justice League, the first season that people complained about, it felt like Superman was weak. He kept getting beat up real easy, but they kind of addressed that later on, I think, in season 2, and then from that point on.
Yeah, because I think in season 2, because they also talk about Justice League, the regular Justice League, having a phenomenal season 2. And I think that's where, I'm trying to remember the episodes, but I think that's where Superman talks about constantly or continuously holding himself back and kind of keeping himself in check. Season 2 is when Superman goes up against Darkseid, when Darkseid comes back
And Darkseid actually came back after him and Superman had their two tussles in Superman the animated series, and Superman
cool.
even said it out of his own mouth. He's like, "Yo, I'm not holding back no more with you," you know.
Yeah, so that was dope. Also, they do make mention of kind of like interpersonal relationships, and that's when you get like a lot of, you know, kind of like, you know, the heartbreaking moments of like the Thanagarians coming and how John Stewart felt about it, and you know what I'm saying, Shira and everything, and it was like, oh snap, y'all getting real up in here. This is drama. but I do like that we got to see, I guess, like a slice of life for every now and then on, of course, you know, on episodes here and there of like kind of like what Batman felt about this or that without having to fight someone, or how the Flash would think about this, or how he would go about his day, or even Martian Manhunter, who I think should get way more shine, did get a good amount of shine in even just the regular Justice League. Where of course, you know, Unlimited, they kind of fell back on him a little bit.
Well, of course, the first two seasons, Justice League, it was only basically dealing with the core 7.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you could focus more on each of those 7, whereas Justice League Unlimited, you know, you had look like about 30 or 40 people they could pull from. So every episode was them trying to highlight some of the lesser known secondary characters, and they'd have them mixed up with different ones of the core 7, you know. And Justice League and Justice League season 1 and 2, you got the, you know, they showed John Stewart's apartment and him having a tattoo from the Marines and this, that, and the third. You know, they, you know what I'm saying, showed Martian Manhunter. There's a couple episodes like when he got overwhelmed psychically and things of that nature like that. They even had an episode kind of as an ode to the Flash and his rogues gallery, you know. So they had time. Oh, and they also took time to, you know, go into Diana's background. A couple of times they had Ares on there and she had to deal with him.
Oh yeah,
you know,
good point. And then like conversations with Hippolyta and stuff.
So all of them, they kind of the core 7, they kind of explored for the most part in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Now I will say, when it comes to Justice League Unlimited, I wish they would have continued kind of that energy throughout their material and focusing on other characters, because when it comes to DC, and I've said this in general outside of like JLU, the focus is too heavy on Batman, way too heavy on Batman. And I understand what DC stands for. I understand that, what it originally stands for, all that. I get it. But if you also highlight your other characters, that allows you to do way more stories without always needing the anchor of Bruce Wayne. If you highlight other characters and get their rep up, then you can sell more merchandise and or do more shows that don't have to tie into Batman in some way. I'm looking at you, Justice League Action, which like, it's Justice League Action, but it might as well just be called like Batman and Friends. Because I'm like, dude, I thought this was Justice League Action. Justice League. Why is this a Batman show? But I haven't
looked at Justice League Action yet, but I will say that Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, they did a pretty good job of not solely focusing on Batman, especially when Unlimited came. I mean, Batman was there, don't get me wrong, but it didn't focus on, he wasn't the main focus. You know what I'm saying? There were some good episodes that came out of it that highlighted the his other teammates and stuff. So I feel like Justice League did a good job of not doing that.
Yeah, so that's why I wish they really would have kept on that energy, like on their following animated series and stuff, because I know Batman makes money, but guess what? Other characters can too. if they get the same attention. You know what I'm saying? Or even shoot, if they even get like 50% of the attention. But one thing I did want to jump on this on and see how you felt. They regarded or remarked on Justice League Unlimited's Cadmus arc. Now that story arc was baller. Yo, the Cadmus arc was crazy. Like the whole thing with Lex and you know him thinking that he was like in control, and then yo, I ain't gonna front, as someone who was like binging it on Netflix, I was like, oh snap, y'all done went levels deep. And then you know
the Cadmus arc was super dope. I mean, you had Galata, aka Power Girl, the clone, and then multiple clones later on that showed up of her. And then you had what was that? The Task Force X group that was kind of like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
I think
they were.
And then you had that group of cloned superheroes teams that they had. I can't remember their name right now. That they had created. Then you saw that Emil Hamilton had turned on Superman, and had from all the way going back to Superman the animated series. He was doing stuff to try to help turn on Superman and the superheroes. I mean, that whole story arc actually was like a culmination of everything that was DC universe, the Bruce Timm universe, because they had that one doctor that made that lichen formula that made the werewolf dude in Batman the animated series. He was there helping them out. That whole little cabal of different scientists and stuff to try to fight the superheroes. The general, he was against them. So you had all that going on, tying back to Superman the animated series, all of that, and Batman the animated series being culminated into one nice big storyline with the Cadmus arc.
And I will say this made me want to watch the Superman arc, the Superman animated series a lot more, because I only watched a couple of episodes here and there. This made me kind of like go back and check it out like a second time.
Well, because I used to be a Superman reader and I used to read it, I knew about the Emil Hamilton character. He was the doctor that would help Superman out with his powers or acting wonky or try to help him out. That was in the comic book, so they actually adapted that into Superman the animated series. Now, when I was growing up, I saw the first season of Superman the animated series as it aired. I didn't get to see the final two seasons because in Richmond, the WB channel became a cable channel and I didn't have cable. So I finally able to watch all of the episodes when I bought the seasons, and I had seen some of the episodes because once again I utilized the powers of Kazaf back in college because I used to actually follow the show going to an old school website that like would give you synopsis of each episode. That's the only way I knew about what's going on in that and the new Batman adventure. So I was like waiting to finally be able to see those episodes, and thank God for DVDs being made. But so when they started showing different people, I already knew who they were. I'm like, oh, okay, I see how that, and it jogged my memory back to episodes. I was like, oh, okay, boom, 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 connecting the dots. But yeah, the Cadmus arc, and then also the Cadmus arc also kind of laid the groundwork for what would become kind of sort of Batman Beyond, because it established that Amanda Waller kind of played a role in Batman Beyond's creation, Terry McGinnis.
Word.
So,
but yeah, before I hit the next point, I did want to stop and give a shout out to the question. I knew nothing of the question before Justice League Unlimited, and the way he was written, the way he was voice acted, I was like, yo, this character is kind of dope. Like, homie was like, he was funny, but at the same time, he was like dry wit or something. Like, dude was just real cool. And then also, there's like a moment where he's like singing some pop song. It's funny because they tie it in. They play this pop song, and I can't remember the name of it, but they play this pop song like, I don't know, like 3-4 episodes before it. It's like randomly. And then like homie's singing along to it, like later on, and like just busts a window open. It's like a dumb thing to remember, but it's hilarious at the same time. Because the question always seems so like reserved, and like dude looks like he's gonna like pick a lock, and then he just like essentially just busts through the window and just walks right in.
Yeah, well, that was also because back to what you said about the voice actor. That was Jeffrey Combs of Star Trek fame. I mean, he's been in some other stuff outside Star Trek, but he was on. They played multiple characters on Deep Space Nine. He was Liquidator Brunt, Wei Yun. He played something else too, and then he was on Enterprise as Shran, and he was a character on Voyager. He played about 5 or 6 different characters throughout the Star Trek franchise. So as soon as I heard him talk, I'm like, oh snap, it's Jeffrey Combs. Now I think by the time that Justice League Unlimited came out, that was when 52 was happening. That year-long single issue, and the question was very prevalent in that. So when I saw him there, I remembered him in that as well. And Renee Montoya ended up becoming the question in the comic books. And also, currently, they got an oversized question book coming out with Dennis Collins doing the pencils on it. And I found out that back in the 90s, he had worked on the question back in the 90s, in the early 90s. So the question is a pretty cool, kind of obscure character, and that's cool that they brought him on Justice League Unlimited, and the fact that he had a relationship with Huntress. I like that too. And I like that they brought Huntress to life, because I'd only seen Huntress in the comic books, and for them to bring her on and she still be her raw, super vigilante self and really harming cats, I like that. So that was pretty cool.
I did want to, they talk about the series finales. And this one, I agree. They put Justice League's finale star-crossed over Destroyer. And basically they say, Darkseid's plan to drill fire pits in the earth is, we've seen it before a lot of times, but the whole Thanagarian invasion was kind of brand new, and it was kind of heartbreaking for different members in the, like Darkseid is like, oh, it's expected. He's a bad dude. He just wants to take everything and get the anti-life equation. But, the whole Thanagarian thing, and then, who can you trust, and like alliances, and what I'm saying, John and Shira and everything. That was like a huge deal. And seeing how the league had to kind of like adjust and work under essentially an occupation was just a dope storyline in general. So I will agree with that. The Starcross was just, that whole storyline was dope. And even Shira, feeling a certain way about her alliances and all that. But yeah, it was a dope, like real dope look at just all of their relationships and how they, kind of like pulling the heartstrings and all that.
Yeah, one thing I appreciate, that I'm happy that Justice League came out back in 2002 in that time period and not now, because people would have been saying stuff on the message boards or getting screenshots somehow ahead of time of what was going on. So back then, I remember when that came out, I knew ahead of time that was going to be the last episode, because I think like Wizard kind of let people know, you know what I mean? And this is before you had like websites like spilling the beans about everything. But like I said, I watched that when that premiered, and when they premiered Starcross, they premiered it as a one big movie at the end. I remember that on Saturday, and it had you, it was a gut wrencher, because you couldn't believe that, Hawk Girl, Sierra Hall, had been a spy the whole time, and for the Thanagarians and stuff. And it was just really good movie. I mean, it was like a mini movie, you know. And at the time, you knew Justice League Unlimited was coming. I remember I read an article about that, so you knew it wasn't over. But it was bittersweet because you didn't know how they were going to change it or not. And I've been around for when they say, "Oh, this cartoon is going to continue another cartoon," and it is a total deviation, a la Beast Machines to Beast Wars, or Spider-Man Unlimited to Spider-Man the animated series. Now, granted, Beast Machines was a different show. It was still a good, decent show to me, but Spider-Man the Unlimited series didn't hold up to Spider-Man the animated series. It was a pale successor to its original, whereas Justice League Unlimited actually equaled its predecessor and was good. So
yeah, and another thing is, you didn't know, okay, when they make this jump to Unlimited, are we kind of like restarting everything, or are they going to reference stuff and it's like, oh, okay, cool, so this is just kind of like Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z, but it's like all of the stuff in Justice League mattered in Justice League Unlimited, which is something that I like, because I hate when they try to like pretend like, oh no, this is a brand new show and don't nobody know nothing. So I like that they brought that over.
Yeah, because you saw some tentacles kind of bleed over. Like, you had the one episode that was the in the season 1 of Unlimited where Green Lantern, Batman, and Wonder Woman were traveling through time, and they ended up going through the future. And there's a character named Warhawk, and he looks up at Green Lantern and goes, "Dad." So then you're like, oh snap.
Yep.
Him and Sierra get back together then. You know, because at the time, him and Vixen were talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know?
And I was like, I remember talking with J-Dub, and I think I think y'all have met each other before, but anyway, talking to J-Dub, and we were like laughing about the moment. There's a moment when John Stewart goes to Batman, and he's talking about like woman problems, and it's like, you know, like, I love Sierra, but you know, things went crazy with the invasion, and now with Vixen, but I don't know how I feel. And like I remember like Batman said something like, well, why don't you just leave Vixen or something like that? And I remember J-Dub and I were like, Batman, have you seen Vixen? Like, have you seen, dude, you be detecting, right? Did you detect that? Like, my dude, it's not you just don't leave Vixen. Like, come on, man. And we just always had a fun time with that. We thought that was hilarious. Said
something like that. I'd have to watch that episode. I do remember that in Justice League Unlimited, they established that Wonder Woman had a thing for Batman. And the first time you saw that was the episode when they all got turned to kids. And they were like splitting up to go take on the bad guy, and Wonder Woman's like, I think I'll go with Clark. She's like, on second thought, I'll go with Batman. And Batman's like, whatever. And she's like, yes, I'll go with Batman. And then Clark, Superman's like, what's going on? And the Green Lantern, as a kid, is like, man, for somebody with supervision, you sure are blind. You can't see stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And,
like those moments, those are like the great moments of those shows.
Yeah, later on when Wonder Woman got turned into the pig, you saw Batman really cared about her. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
you know, his heart isn't made of stone. You know what I'm saying? Oh man.
They actually had at the time of the show, they actually had that in the comic book where him and Wonder Woman were kind of talking with each other in the comic book in Justice League, and I'm like, they should have explored that more.
Yeah,
you know, because they always try to automatically put Superman and Wonder Woman together, but that Batman Wonder Woman dynamic actually was pretty cool.
Yeah, because it also really rubs up against her homeland and those ideals, because I could see, like, okay, say if Wonder Woman brought Superman home to Mama, I could see her being like, okay, we don't like men, but okay. But Batman, no. I do not see Wonder Woman bringing him home. And everybody was like, oh, okay, this is a good choice. Like I like that pick just because of like the conflict within her and like her ideals, because Batman is not, he's a good guy, but Batman, he keeps a lot of secrets and tells a lot of lies. Like, Batman, he skirts the line sometimes with his own teammates. So that is a cool thing to see happen. So I did like that matchup. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the one and only Amanda Waller. Yes. A formidable foe that normally you'd be like, oh, it's just this lady. She looks like she's, she looks like she just does bureaucratic stuff. No big deal. She's nobody to be feared. And she carries herself in a way where it's like, look, you better recognize, like, and she is not afraid to be like, look, I'll have the CIA, the FBI, whoever down here. I have the military down here. I ain't scared of your powers. Like, I just like the way they handled her as a character in Unlimited.
Well, she was straight gangster, because I remember on this one episode, and this is during the Cadmus Conspiracy time. They start off the episode, she's in the shower, and then she goes reaching for, they show all her TV cameras, or not her TV cameras, all of her surveillance cameras going dark. And she's in the shower, and then she goes to reach for a towel, and you see Batman's hand her a towel, and then she's shocked to know that he's there. And so Batman's grilling her about information about whatever the conspiracy was. I think it was Doomsday or Galatea, or one of them two. And then she quips back to him, hey, you keep messing around with me. Don't make me go send somebody to your little mansion in Gotham. And it's like, oh, snap. She knows he's Bruce Wayne.
You know what I'm saying? She pulled that card quick. Now, on the low, though, Bruce checked the booty out a little bit. He peeped the booty out. He was like, oh, all right. I
don't know about all that. They made her look very overweight, and I'm not a fan of overweight women, so I was like, I don't think he was there for business.
No, Bat might be like looking for, a robust woman. You know what I'm saying?
No, Bat's eye at that time was on Wonder Woman, so the epitome of being fit. Sorry for plus size women or Lizzo fans out there.
No, he didn't say Lizzo fans. Oh man, I ain't even messing with you.
No, I'm not trying to get you in trouble with the Lizzo brood out there. You know what I'm saying?
Boy.
But Batman was going after Wonder Woman
Lex
at
Luthor,
that time.
When in what was it, Public Enemies, the joint LeSean Thomas worked on. Yo, Lex Luthor ain't had no problem with that.
Well, that was based off the comic book, and Lex is kind of crazy because he was juicing himself up on kryptonite. So
Lex was like, I could appreciate that thing.
Hey, Lex was under the influence of kryptonite too.
Oh boy,
he was singing. He was like, in the A, I'll be on that kryptonite, straight up on that kryptonite. That's what he was doing.
You can find me in the A. Yo, that's a good song. Anyway.
Hey, I got the vinyl of that, the green vinyl too.
Oh, so, word? Yo, dope.
Kryptonite green, baby. Well, but back to the task at hand.
Yeah, you're right. She was gangster. I love how because with the Cadmus arc, it seemed like the Justice League was catching it on all fronts, and they couldn't buy a win. You know what I'm saying? And that's, you know what? The Justice League always seemed like they had real problems. Like they were like real threats for them to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Which made both series amazing. Because it wasn't like, oh, well, it's just this, bad guy, we'll just punch him out. And I mean, they did have those smaller episodes where that was the case, but there were always larger things going on that they had to really be a team. And that's one thing that I love about the show.
Well, Justice League Unlimited, the trickle down effect of the Thanagarians attacking was they revealed that they had the Watchtower, and the humans didn't like that, which led in turn to creating the Cadmus art. So that the whole Thanagarian thing happening kind of sparked the whole Cadmus art. The humans were like, yo, the superheroes are too powerful. We need to have some stuff on our side to take them out in case they go rogue. And then they were tripping because they had the Watchtower. And then when you see Justice League Unlimited, they had like 4 Watchtowers. They like had the main one and like 3 or 4 orbiting it, you know, and you know the human beings weren't feeling that. And then they were doing a political smear campaign on them, and the Justice League didn't do a good job sometimes seeing that was what was happening. Superman ended up falling for it when he and Captain Marvel got to fighting in that one episode. You know. And Lex Luthor had plotted that whole thing, you know, and I was like, to me, that's the perfect Lex. The Lex when he's right there in plain sight, but you can't prove that he's dirty, you know. I don't like the Lex that fights in the green suit and the armor. I've never been a fan of that Lex. I've always been a fan of the Lex that, you know, he was the businessman on front and looked like he was a philanthropist and all that, but unless you really knew him or were a victim of his stuff, there was a contingency of people, kind of like something going on now in our country, that thought this person was a really good dude. Except for Lex didn't say messed up stuff or crazy stuff out the side of his mouth. You know, he was too clean and too polished.
And Lex was arguably a genius.
Yeah, he's like one of the top 3 minds in the DCU, you know. So I like that version of Lex. Also, he was voiced by Clancy Brown. And, of course, he was another case of where people wondered, is Lex black? Because if you looked at Lex Luthor,
because there was a couple times I was like,
Superman,
I think Lex
he
is
had
a brother.
darker skin. You know, you're like, is he black?
They gave him that like that mocha with like 2 creams look. They gave him man.
I mean, they Two-Face black too. He definitely was black. I mean, look at his lips and skin. So
they knew what was up.
Yeah.
But with that said, guys, thanks for chilling with us, hanging with us, reminiscing on Justice League and why it's so cool. Shouts out to CBR for throwing up this article for us to debate and, you know, go down memory lane just a touch. But before we get out of here, of course, Avery, tell them where they can hear you, where they can find the show, and all that jazz.
Okay, everyone. So once again, I reside on the East Coast. My show is called Choppin It Up Geek. It airs on WRIR 97.3 FM, Richmond Independent Radio. You can go to www.wrir.org to find the show. My show comes on every second, fourth, and fifth Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Western Standard Time, for you left coast people out there. And yeah, I haven't had a chance to really make any new episodes now due to the corona. I have stuff on burner, but I'm gonna try something out hopefully in 2 weeks, or most definitely June, because June will be 3 years that the show's been out.
Congratulations.
So yes, I appreciate that. So, but yeah, that's where you all can find me.
Word up. Well, guys, that's right. NERDSoul. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, mostly on YouTube, but all them places. If you don't want to see me, you can listen to me on podcasts. If you don't want to listen to me, then you can just open up the tab and just like play it and just mute it and hold a brother down. But thank you for chilling. And until next time, this is from us to you just saying peace.